Good morning, everyone. I hope you are having the best day ever. I've said this before, I like to say good morning at the beginning of my podcast. I feel like I'm talking like I'm on NPR right now. That's because it's like 11:30 at night, super late. I'm crazy and I'm pretty tired. But good morning. I hope you're having whatever. Okay. This is my first podcast back in like a month. I know the fans are going crazy, breaking down my door for more content, and here it is. So I've been gone for a month. I was on a trip for like a month. I brought my super fancy podcast microphone with me, and yes, it did stay in the trunk of my car the entire time, but no one stole it, so the show must go on. I'm feeling a little bit delirious because last night I attended a sort of high school reunion slash wedding. Um, I guess the main point of the event was a wedding, but it also served as a sort of high school reunion. So things, got wild last night. I was up pretty late. I was up till like 2 last night, and then for some godforsaken reason, I woke up at 6 a.m. and I've been awake since then. And some would say I woke up not in my best state, and that might have had something to do with the wedding last night. Also, I apologize if you can hear Millie, my little cat, shaking her ass around the microphone, but what can you do about it? Anyway, today I thought we'd have like a chill little chit chat moment where I can talk and you can listen, my favorite kind of conversation, about the high school reunion slash wedding I attended last night. Because if you've ever been to a high school reunion, or I don't know, your first time seeing people from your high school and like your childhood get married, it's kind of weird. Not in a bad way, it's just like weird. Mm, I'm gonna have to cut all of this out, but that's the only word I can think of right now. Weird. Weird vibes. Not in a bad way. It was just odd going. I felt like I was back in high school. Like I was seeing people I went to school with for my whole life, and I'm about to burp. I'll have to have my editor cut that out. Attending, I keep calling it a high school reunion. Really, it was someone's wedding, but I mean, same thing. It's weird because, especially during COVID, I feel like so much time and no time at all has passed since I was in high school. So I walk in and I'm automatically like brought right back, feeling like I saw all of these people yesterday. And I'm like, oh, you're like, I haven't seen you in like 5 years and you are engaged or getting married or living with your parents. Like everyone is in such different stages of life, but we're all still, I don't know. This is dumb. Anyway, I want to talk about going to Southern weddings or weddings in the South because I feel like it's such a specific experience or aesthetic. I literally felt like I was in a scene from Outer Banks or some show, so some show set in the South because of how on point. It hit the nail on the head, I guess. I'm not really sure if I'm making sense, but especially because I haven't lived in the South for like 3 or 4 years now. So when I come back and I go to such like a fancy, specifically Southern occasion like a wedding, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is kind of crazy." Especially like seeing everyone's outfits, hearing how everyone speaks to each other, and just the Southern culture. It's of how people interact with one another. I feel like you can't really understand it unless you've experienced it firsthand. So I guess it's kind of pointless that I talk about that. I also kind of get culture shock because I'm 21 and people who are a year older than me are already getting married, and I'm like, I didn't like I'm that blows my mind that people my age are getting married and they're gonna like move in with their spouse. Like I am literally sitting on the floor of my childhood bedroom, like playing with my cat. Like I said, I'm a little bit delirious and I've been procrastinating, getting back on the horse with the whole podcast thing, the podcast empire I keep talking about to people in my real life. And they're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, just you'll see. I'm like, I have a podcast empire, whatever. Something I've been thinking about a lot is Brussels sprouts, and especially Brussels sprouts at weddings because I've only had Brussels sprouts twice, and both times were this summer and both times were at weddings. The first Brussels sprouts I had, it was everything and more that you wanted in a Brussels sprout. They were crispy, they were like charred a little. Some might say they were deep fried, so they're not really that good for you. And but what I mean, who cares? And they had this sort of like soy honey glaze on top that was, like I said, everything you want and more in a Brussels sprout. It was the best thing I've ever eaten in my entire life. If I could have those Brussels sprouts for every meal until I die, I would. Then I go to this wedding last night. I'm like, fuck it, I'll try these Brussels sprouts. Let's see what's good with the Brussels sprouts. Again, they were incredible. They were not deep fried, and I think they were actually kind of good for you, which is a little startling for me because I'm not really into the whole, health food thing. I would say 95% of my diet is Diet Coke and whatever, like Chick-fil-A I can get my hands on. Don't cancel me. But these Brussels sprouts were like literally doing something to me. And I mean, that's a long way of saying that maybe I do like Brussels sprouts after all. I'm gonna have to keep you guys posted on that. I know I'm leaving you at a little bit of a cliffhanger, a little bit of a nail biter, but maybe I'll make some Brussels sprouts this week and tell you about it. Don't count on it. Something I was thinking about, I know this is shallow, but sometimes you have to be shallow. If there's ever a time where I want to look and feel my best, feel my most confident, it is when I am attending a high school reunion. I know it doesn't matter if you I don't know, if you look good around people you went to fucking high school with, but for some reason I was like, maybe it does matter. I don't know. It mattered to me. I was like, I want to look good. I'm seeing people I haven't seen. Like, I want them to think I had a glow up. I want. Okay, I'm cutting myself off. I just want to say thank you for being loyal fans. Now you can expect my podcast to be very consistent. I'm really going to be on that podcast grind, and I'm going to get my beep together. So you can count on that. Thank you guys for listening, and I love you. Good night.